Rick Hendrick doesn't hand over the number 48 to anyone. That car won 7 championships. That car is Jimmy Johnson. And when Hendrick finally decided who gets to sit in it next, he didn't pick the bloke winning road courses at will in the Cup Series right now. He picked a 20-year-old. On Monday, Hendrick Motorsports confirmed Connor Zilisch will drive the 48 starting in 2028 once Alex Bowman steps away. Multi-year deal, Ali stays on the door, done. And here's the fact that should stop every SVG fan mid-scroll. This is the first full-time driver change Hendrick has needed since Kyle Larson arrived in 2021. That's how rare these seats are. Hendrick had one golden ticket to hand out, and Shane van Gisbergen, our guy, the man dragging Trackhouse to the fight on ovals now, wasn't the one who got it. So the question writes itself. Why Zilisch? And more importantly, what does SVG do next? And look, if you've been following SVG since the Supercars days, since the Bathurst wins, since he rocked up to Chicago and won a Cup race on debut like it was nothing, this channel is built for you. NASCAR through an Aussie-Kiwi lens, SVG as the main character. Smash subscribe so you don't miss where this one lands, right? Let's get into it. What SVG has actually done, start with the stuff nobody can argue with. In 2026, SVG has 5 Cup wins and 4 poles. 5. His Sonoma victory back in June was his 8th career Cup win. On road courses, he is flat out the best in the field. It's not close, and everyone in that garage knows it. That matters because road course dominance isn't a novelty anymore. It's points. It's playoff spots. It's a guaranteed weapon a handful of times a year that most teams would kill for. And when SVG rolls into a road course, rival crew chiefs are racing for second. But here's the bit that changes the whole conversation. It's not just the twisty tracks anymore. Go and look at what he did at Richmond in the Truck Series Spires number 7, Hendrick cars on the bonnet, and he put it on pole on a short oval, his first oval pole in NASCAR for a guy whose entire scouting report used to read brilliant right turner, question mark on the ovals. That's not a footnote. That's the wall coming down, and that's exactly why the Hendrick decision gets interesting. Because if the knock on SVG was ovals, and the ovals are now improving, then the easy explanation for why Hendrick passed him over just got a lot harder to defend. So here's the real question. What if Hendrick didn't choose Zilisch because SVG wasn't good enough, but because Hendrick was buying a completely different kind of future? Hold that thought, because it's the whole story. Why Zilisch, though? Let's be fair. Because if we turn this into Zilisch is rubbish, we're lying to you, and this channel doesn't do that. Connor Zilisch is the real deal. The kid won 10 races in the Xfinity Series in 2025, 10 plus 8 poles, and the regular season championship, and he did it despite missing a race. He'd already won class honors at the Rolex 24 and Sebring before most blokes his age had a road license. He's 20 years old. Hendrick even said it out loud. They've had their eye on him for nearly a decade. So look at it from Rick Hendrick's chair. You're not filling a seat for 2028. You're filling it for the next 15 years. Zilisch at 20 gives you a driver you can build the entire back half of the Hendrick dynasty around the way they did with Gordon, with Johnson, with Larson. That's the Hendrick playbook. Sign young, sign long, and let the runway do the work. Here's the uncomfortable truth for us SVG fans. That decision can make complete sense even if Shane is the more proven driver today. Hendrick wasn't asking who's better in 2026. He was asking who's still winning championships in 2038. Different question. Completely different answer. Now here's the bit that really gets me. If Hendrick is buying the future, the 15-year bet, then what does that actually make SVG? Because he's not the future to Hendrick, but he might be the most valuable present in the entire sport. The money and the market, think about where this leaves everyone. SVG is under contract with Trackhouse through the end of 2027. He signed that extension back in August 2025, so nothing's happening tomorrow. But 2027 stops being a distant date real quick when the biggest team in the sport has just publicly said, our seat's taken. And here's what that does. It removes an option from the board. For a while, the dream scenario floated around by fans was SVG one day landing at Hendrick. That door for the 48 at least is now shut, which means when SVG's contract winds down, the conversation isn't does he wait for Hendrick, it's who moves first. Justin Marks has already told everyone what he thinks of the talent he's got. When he spoke about Zilisch, he called him coveted by everybody. Well, SVG is a proven cup winner, a marketing machine with an international fan base, and the best road racer in the sport. If Zilisch was coveted, what exactly is Shane? And this is the part nobody should overlook. What if the Hendrick decision doesn't lower SVG's value at all? What if it quietly raises it? Because now every other team knows the market's about to have a genuine star in play, and one of the safest landing spots just came off the table. The Hendrick car's clue. All right, let's talk about the thing everyone in the comments is going to bring up, the Hendrick car's sponsorship. SVG's been running that Spire number 7 with HendrickCars.com plastered across it. That's the same truck he put on pole at Richmond. And Hendrick Cars is Rick Hendrick's dealership empire, so the temptation is enormous. Connect the dots. Hendrick money on SVG's truck must mean Hendrick wants SVG, right? Slow down, because here's where you got to be honest with yourself. HendrickCars.com is a sponsor. It's a business. It puts its logo on a lot of machinery across NASCAR, and a sponsorship is not a job offer. Dealership money going onto a Spire truck tells us that Hendrick's commercial side likes SVG's marketability, and honestly, why wouldn't they? The bloke sells, but does it prove Hendrick Motorsports, the race team, was ever seriously weighing SVG for the 48? No, it doesn't. We don't actually know whether SVG was ever formally in that conversation. That's the honest answer. Is it an interesting piece of the puzzle, though? Absolutely, because it tells you the Hendrick world already sees value in Shane van Gisbergen, just maybe not in the seat we all assumed. And that gap between they clearly rate him and they didn't pick him is the exact tension this whole story lives in. What SVG does next. So what happens now? A few real paths. Path 1, he stays. SVG becomes the outright centerpiece at Trackhouse. Think about it, Zilisch is gone to Hendrick after 2027, so Trackhouse suddenly needs a face to build around. Who's more obvious than the road course king, who's now cracking ovals too? Losing Zilisch might make SVG more important to Trackhouse, not less. Path 2, he tests the water. When that contract runs down, SVG becomes one of the biggest names available in the whole sport. And there aren't many proven championship caliber free agents floating around. Teams don't get chances at drivers like that often. Path 3, somebody moves early. Contracts get reworked all the time when the talent's good enough. If a manufacturer or a team decides they can't risk him walking, they don't wait around. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you a specific team is chasing him, because right now that's not confirmed and we don't invent things on this channel. What I'll tell you is the setup, proven winner, contract clock ticking, the safest chair just filled by someone else, the precedent. And here's why none of this should shock you. This is exactly how Hendrick operates. They signed Larson. They built around Byron Young. They gave Gordon and Johnson 2-decade careers. Hendrick doesn't hire for next season. He hires for the next generation. So Zilisch fits the pattern perfectly. But that same pattern is the clue, because it means the 48 decision was never really a referendum on Shane van Gisbergen. It was a bet on time, and SVG at his best right now doesn't have a time problem. He has a how long does he want to keep doing this question, which leaves the one thing this whole saga hasn't answered. The really juicy part isn't who drives the 48 in 2028. It's who picks up the phone before Trackhouse ever gets to renew him, and whether Shane's already decided how he wants his NASCAR story to end. If you reckon Hendrick made the right call locking up the future, type Zilisch. If you take SVG in that 48 today, no hesitation, type SVG. Let's see where this audience really sits. Next lap, we're breaking down the exact teams that would benefit most from a free agent SVG and which manufacturer has the biggest reason to move first. Keep her between the fences.